بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين مولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. One may ask the question, in the current climate, why do you want to speak about a man who was the embodiment of jihad? Why do you want to speak about a man who quashed and destroyed all the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? To that we say that these are historical facts, and every nation, every religion, every group of people have the right to remember those who have sacrificed for what they believe in. And no man sacrificed for more than Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anhu for what we believe in. And it is not our fault that a group of people, because of their political agenda, have made terrorism and jihad synonymous. For jihad is a rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How often do you have to pick up a sword to take the sword out of the hands of madmen? How often and how much we loved the mujahideen of Afghanistan when they fought our war against the Russians, and how much we despise the same word jihad because it impedes our global agenda. And if you say that we should forego jihad because it has been abused by a few, then to that we will say that democracy, freedom and liberty has been the cause of far more death in the world than the jihad has. Far more. And therefore today I want to speak about a man, a real man. And to appreciate this man, you have to really understand the definition of what a man is. The ulama write, a real man is he who is not only brave, but with bravery he has isabatul right. He has a deep understanding into the situation. And these two components make a holistic man. And then you have nisfu rajul, half a man. And half a man is he who is brave but he has no brains. And therefore his bravery gets him into trouble and it gets other people into trouble. Or the other half of a man is he who has brains but he doesn't have the bottle to carry out the action. And the third is he who has no courage, or nor does he have any brains. And the ulama write, he's not a man at all. And then there are those men who are equivalent to men. Regarding Abu Talha radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that Abu Talha on the battlefield, his voice is equivalent to 1,000 men. When Amr ibn As radiallahu anhu wrote a letter to Umar radiallahu anhu and he said, send me 4,000 men. And Umar radiallahu anhu sent him 4,000 men. And at the head of these 4,000 men, he sent 4 men. Zubair, Miqdad, Maslama and Ubadah ibn Samit radiallahu anhu. When he wrote him a letter, he said, I am sending you 4,000 men. And at the head of these 4,000 men, I am sending you 4 men who are, each one of them is equivalent to 1,000. And today I don't want to speak of a man who was equivalent to 100 or 1,000 or 100,000, but he was equivalent to 1,000,000. He was Khalid bin Waleed. He was born in the house of the greatest enemy of Islam, Waleed ibn Mughira. Waleed had all the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Allah deprived him of the greatest favor, and that was the favor of Islam. And Allah and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Alhamdulillahi ala ni'matil Islam wa kafa biha ni'mah. All praise be to Allah on the ni'mah of Islam. And if this was the only favor, it would suffice. If you had Islam and you had nothing else, they would suffice. But Waleed was given all the other favors. He was known as Rayhana to Quraysh because of his beauty, the flower of Quraysh. He was the richest man from amongst the people of Quraysh. As long as Waleed ibn Mughira lived, nobody had the right to feed the mushrikeen hajis. Nobody fed them as long as Waleed ibn Mughira lived. And at any one time, he had over 100,000 gold dinars at home. At any one time, and he was known as Wahidul Qawm. As far as his intellect was concerned, there was no man amongst Quraysh who was more intelligent than Waleed ibn Mughira. All the planning, all the plotting against the Prophet ﷺ went through Waleed ibn Mughira. He was the man who coined the term magician for the Prophet ﷺ. Upon occasion he gathered the people of Quraysh and he said, "O people of Quraysh, understand that the Arab from all corners of the Arab Peninsula will come and perform Hajj, and they have heard about Muhammad, and they will ask you about him. So you need to be united and unified regarding your response." And they said, "You tell us, Waleed, you are the most intelligent from amongst us. What should we say?" And he said, "No, you tell me." So one of them said that we'll say he's a kahin, he's a sorcerer. And Waleed said, "I have sat with sorcerers and Muhammad is no sorcerer." And then they said, "We'll say he's a poet." And Waleed ibn Mughira said, "I know poetry better than anybody else, and I have sat with poets and Muhammad is no poet." And then they said, "We'll say he's a madman." And Waleed ibn Mughira said, "Fools, don't you know that madmen cannot articulate what Muhammad says?" And then they said, "We'll say he's a magician. We'll say he's a magician." And he said, "I have sat with magicians and I have seen their magic, and what Muhammad does is not magic or nor is he a magician." And then they said, "What shall we say?" And Waleed said, "Everything that you have proposed, we know it is false, but we will go with the fact that he is a magician. He divides between a husband and a wife, a mother and a daughter, a son and a father." And Waleed ibn Mughira was the man who coined the term Sahir for the Prophet ﷺ. Waleed's hate for the Prophet ﷺ was such that he offered his own son to Abu Talib. He said, "Abu Talib, take Amara. He's the most wisest and the most upright amongst the youngsters of Quraysh. Take him and give us Muhammad and we'll deal with him." And then he said, "Isn't it right? We give you a man for a man." Fool didn't understand. If they had given the entirety of humanity for my Prophet ﷺ, it still would not have sufficed. It still would not have sufficed. And Abu Talib said, "Do you think it's fair that I give you my child and you kill him, and I feed and raise your child?" And when Waleed ibn Mughira passed away, Allah records in the Quran what will be his outcome. Allah mentioned in the Quran, Allah said, "Dharni wa man khalaqtu wahida." Leave me to deal with that one I created by myself. Sa'uslihi saqam, I will enter him into the blazing fire. And when Waleed died, this banner of hate was transferred onto the shoulders of no other than Khalid bin Waleed radiallahu anhu, his son. And Khalid belonged to the Bani Makhzuma, and Bani Makhzuma was the warrior tribe from the Quraysh, and no one was a greater warrior than Khalid bin Waleed amongst them. He had the ability to hold the sword in both hands and control his horse with his feet. And he was renowned among the Bani Makhzuma that nobody could fight Khalid bin Waleed. And on the battle of Badr, his brother Waleed ibn Waleed was captured by the Muslims, and Khalid came and gave 4,000 dirhams ransom. And when Waleed ibn Waleed reached a place called Zul Khalaifa, he was so impressed by the character of the believers that he slipped away and he embraced Islam on the hands of the Prophet ﷺ. And this enraged Khalid bin Waleed even more. And when the battle of Uhud came, and it's no exaggeration that the man who was responsible for the defeat on the battle of Uhud was no other than Khalid bin Waleed. The Prophet ﷺ commanded 50 Sahaba under Abdullah ibn Jubayr to stand on the mountain of Uhud, and he said, under no circumstances should you descend from the mountain. And the narrations mention that the Prophet ﷺ said, even if you see birds pecking our head. And the battle started, and Khalid bin Waleed on 3 occasions tried to attack the Muslim from behind, and upon 3 occasions